Andy Crowner, how are you?
Good morning. I'm doing just great. How about yourself?
Good. That's Group Love on the big show. Hour 3 kicks off with Andy Crowner to talk about the budget work session tonight at West Burlington City Hall.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I enjoyed your interview with Dr. Michael Ash there, too. They do such a great job for our community. I know when I was on the West Burlington School Board, they did a lot for us in our Corners program and really gave us 2 rooms out there, and I think we're doing some good things with them, so appreciate all their hard work here in our area.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to watch that place. It just in the last few years really go. I mean, really take off. So,
and we needed to see Iowa Wesleyan stick around. I think that's good for our overall community, and so any work they can do there to help that happen sounds like a pretty nice program. And I think at least for West Burlington and what we're doing, we kind of have a good way to bounce from high school out to SEC and then out to Iowa Wesleyan. Sounds like a pretty good track for an education.
So the only question remains, when are you going to fix the speed limit out there at their intersection?
And we've got a little bit of that today. We do have the engineers have come back and said, hey, look, we recommend changing agency down to 35. It's sitting at 45 right now. So you're looking...
Starting where?
That'd be from Walmart area out to the college, just past there. So I don't know exact timeline of when we're going to get that done, but we're going to look at voting on that next week for the first time. And then we also did that speed study out on Mount Pleasant Street. But right now the engineers are recommending we keep that at 45. Actual 85th percentile was a little over 45, so we're looking at probably keeping that the same.
That's out here by the radio station, west of Gear?
Correct, taking Gear out all the way to UPS out there.
It seems to me like that area in front of what is the old Menards / new Menards storage facility, that out there seems okay at 45, but the trouble is then that intersection, right?
Yeah, the intersection, and then, people turning in and out of there. We have had a much larger rate of accidents out that direction. So the speed without the accidents would have came in still saying, hey, 45 is acceptable, because I think the average was like 42.
Right.
But once the engineers took the number of accidents per year into the equation, they did recommend that we lower that. So
yeah, you got
I'm at least happy we stopped and we got the data first.
Right.
We didn't just jump to it. Looks like it is warranted, but I'm glad we're not changing out of Mount Pleasant.
Right, and because that's the confluence of 3 pretty big things there. You've got the hospital sitting on the one side, which has its own bunch of traffic, including emergency access and emergency traffic. You've got the college there with a lot of kids staring at their phones or whatever they're doing out there. And then you've got the fast break there, which does, its own share of business on both sides of that intersection, as you know. There's a lot going on right there. Visually.
Yeah, and hopefully more as we continue down the road. I think the hospital continues to grow, the college continues to grow. I would imagine that there will be more and more going out that direction over the next 5-10 years as well.
I wonder who owns that corner that's not developed there.
Yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head. I could look.
That would seem like the next logical thing here in West Burlington, if that is West Burlington. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So what else is going on tonight besides that?
So we do have the work session tonight on the budget. Tonight we're talking public works, which is a pretty large chunk of our budget, talking about $6.7 million.
Define that for us.
Yeah, so public works for us would be anything roads, street lights, traffic control, snow removal, street cleaning, parks, our pool, and then the water and sewer budgets, which are obviously a very large part of our budget.
Okay. So 6.7 million wrapped up in all that stuff you just said.
Yeah, and so $4 million of that 6.7 is water. So that is a large section, and then almost $1 million, about 900,000 in sewer. So that's really the main cost of these budgets. And they'll say, well, why don't you spend so much on roads? There's actually a different budget that we use for roads. We use that under capital projects. So we'll be talking about that in a couple weeks. So some of that isn't on here. Most of this is all non-optional items. They're things that are maintenance. They're public works overhead and water overhead and buildings and things like that. So there's not a whole lot to discuss tonight, just a few options.
Yeah, so once you're locked in there with what is about $5 million is already spoken for before you ever get started on that budget.
Yeah, and really even more than that, because once you say, okay, public works, well, we've got the people there, we've got their FICA, we've got their insurance.
Right.
There's really, if you're talking optional stuff, there's probably only $26,000 that's really optional in this budget tonight. So a couple things we're looking at is a flagpole out at the new Public Works building. We've got an American flag flying at every city property here in town, except for that one just didn't get done. So we're going to discuss that. We're looking at redoing a couple bathrooms out at Pat Klein Park. Should be an interesting discussion because we just have not been able to keep our bathrooms up and have them not be vandalized. So that's a discussion we're going to have tonight on how to do that. And then we're looking at a valve exerciser, which is just a piece of equipment that helps us open and close water valves, and it extends the life of those water valves by exercising them.
So back to these I've never enjoyed the bathrooms at Pat Klein Park, I must say. I go by there constantly, but I don't stop there. Standard kid violence? You talking about, I don't know, or serious stuff?
Well, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time over at that park, and those bathrooms were usable, and I think that was the culture of the day, was we kept things a little bit nicer and cleaner, and I know from our public works guys, what they're saying is that they'll go in there in the morning, and it'll be covered in feces.
Really?
Yeah, and that, I hate to see that in West Burlington. I'd love for us to be able to have nice bathrooms out there at the park for people to enjoy, but it sounds, at least to me, from what Public Works and our police officers are saying, that maybe is not an option at this point.
Wow, that is so troubling to hear in a nice small town like this. It really is. What's wrong with you people? This is Andy Crowner.
I don't know if it's just a few people causing the issue, but it's been a long-standing problem, and
right.
So I don't know what we'll do on these bathrooms tonight. It should be a good discussion.
Well, I mean, I'm certain we're working with the percentage of a single percent of the population. Honestly, I mean, it's like the mostly peaceful protest. There's 1 million people over here behaving, and then 1,000 over here really causing trouble. Same thing here. There's 3,000 people in the city, let's say. I'll bet it's not a dozen, not close to a dozen, that would vandalize the public bathroom for no reason like that. I mean, it's just such a small, and they ruin it for everybody. It's the age-old tale.
Yep, I think you're right. And so do we build a nice big Taj Mahal bathroom and then put cameras on it and lock it and make it so you got to go to City Hall to get a key and do all these things? Or do we just say, you know what, okay, we lose, fine. If you're going to vandalize everything we put up, we'll just stop.
Yeah, I don't know about the camera part, but some kind of way of, I don't know. There must be some tech, there has to be a tech answer to this for sure. Somewhere. I don't know. I'm not smart enough.
We get down to at some point where, the culture's got to shift.
Right.
We've got to get back to being better people.
What about ring doorbells on the door so we at least know who's coming and going and save that?
Yeah. We just need one that you can see through masks right now.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
So other discussions we're having, water rates, the first round should be hitting bills here, I think, next month. Which, again, we did not change the first 3,000 gallons. So a lot of people will not see their bills fluctuate very much, especially if you're a single person living in West Burlington. But we got a plan for the second round, which is coming in July. So we're going to start discussing how we're going to spread those rates across the different tiers. So that's on the agenda as we talk about Public Works. And then sewer rates. I know this is going to sound a little funny, but we didn't have as many people use as much water and sewer this year due to COVID, and that is pretty true across the United States. And so what that means for us is we actually made less money on sewer. So we've got to increase rates because we lost money last year.
So to say, sales were down in the sewer department.
That's exactly how it's put. You kind of run your sewer like a business as well as your water, and sales were down. So we've got to cover some overhead costs. We have some state things we have to meet in terms of funding levels.
Right.
We're looking at maybe a 4% increase on that, which isn't a huge deal. And losing ABB, we're going to lose that going into our sewer as well.
Right.
So that's going to take our sales down. It's going to put more of the overhead cost onto the individuals. So yeah, have to shift some things around there.
I knew some of those ABB people. They were full of it, and that was a good customer for the sewer. But if you think about, I read about this with regard to the large cities. New York was one where they're absolutely crippled because people are at home going to the bathroom at home, not in the city proper, and they were having trouble maintaining any personnel and all of that stuff for their sewer system.
Yeah, they are probably having to change, where their sewer is being used.
Right.
Where ours is just down a little bit, theirs are probably spread out and going into areas that, less in their commercial districts and more in their residential.
All right, enough about you. Let's talk about you. If you'll put your other hat on for real estate, andycrowner.com. You showed me some stats the other day, year over year, now that we have 2020 in the books, more or less. Hit some of the highlights of that.
Yeah, we've been kind of going month by month, but let's look at the whole year of 2020 versus 2019. And so total listed homes, there was about 20 less, so 754 versus 771 in 2019. So less homes listed. But we sold a lot more, sold 550 versus 506 in 2019. So listed less, sold more. That means there's less homes on the market for sure. It's driving up prices. Your average sale price, this is a little deceiving. It only went up about $1,000 on average. But if you look at the homes that were sold, there was a lot more smaller homes sold compared to the increases in the larger homes. So when we really look at that, your small house, your 0 to 2 bedroom was up about $7,000 versus the previous year. Your 3 bedroom was up about $3,000. 4 bedroom was up about $13,000. And the only thing that went down, your 5 bedroom home went down about $3,000. So that is where you get those averages, and it really shows your smaller homes are up quite a bit.
Interesting. Yes, caller, do you have a question for Andy Crowner?
Hey, Mr. Crowner, speaking of ABB, they are putting together some sort of, I guess, to soften the blow, packages of comparable information for people willing to move down to the Mebane, North Carolina area. And one of the things that they were showing was that the price of a home in Burlington, Iowa, and the cost of a home down in Mebane was very comparable, they said. There was only about a 1% increase in home prices for Mebane versus Iowa City. They were using Iowa City as a comparator here, and which is totally wrong. So I'm wondering, is there any way that you could put together some sort of a cost analysis on housing here locally that we could have local values that we could use comparable to what they're paying down there as a better judgment?
We definitely could do that, and I think most people would know right off the bat.
Right.
The second they see a home price there, they're going to go, wow, that's 2.5 times what I'm paying here in Burlington.
And there's going to be a lot of business coming up, because if there are people going to move, you're going to have homes available now that are coming out of that deal. People are going to look,
I don't want anybody to move, but we do need some homes to sell. But no, my grandma always taught me to bloom where you're planted. That's why I'm right here in Burlington, West Burlington area, and I hope those people stick around and we can build some good companies using that workforce. And I think people are seeing that. I think that's why you're seeing 2 or 3 manufacturing plants look at coming here. We've got a good workforce, and we've got some factories available.
Another caller question, why construction eastbound from the city shops to the entrance here at KCPS Radio? I guess I'm unaware of what that construction is. What are they talking
anytime we talk about that kind of stuff, since I'm a real estate agent and I'm on city council, I always kind of play dumb.
Okay.
Because I don't know where I heard what and what is public knowledge and what is private knowledge. And so, I'll let you guys know when you already know.
Apparently it's one lane eastbound on Mount Pleasant Street.
Oh, you're talking just road construction?
Yeah.
Okay, I was unaware of that, so we must have busted something, and because that's not a planned thing, that's not a project we were planning on working on.
I didn't think so either. Yeah. So, what? Yes, caller.
My question is, you've got the sewer rates going down, or sewer usage going down, and your first response was raise the rates, as opposed to let's look at the entire budget and see where we can adjust it?
Well, so your cost is going to go down just a little bit because you're not having the usage, but you've got to be able to cover the overhead, and then the state sets that we have to have a certain amount in reserve, so we have to meet that per state law. So it would be like your business, if you had the ability to charge any rate you wanted, which the sewer does, and so you were able to just cover your shortfall by raising the rate, that's what they're doing. And my other option.
But in my business,
I understand. We have a complete monopoly.
Right. You have a complete monopoly, but you also have other departments where you can shift budgets around. Why immediately go to raise rate as opposed to maybe over here in Parks Department we can bring that down a little bit, labor costs or whatever, to adjust for the lack of fundage coming in for the sewer.
Understand, and the way you would still have to do that is you would still have to keep the sewer budget. Okay, I can't intermingle those two things. That's just the way our government is laid out. But what I can do is try to lower property tax to cover that increase by taking it out of something else. Now, does that happen? Usually not, because I can't get the votes to make it happen. But the sewer would have to stay in the sewer. That's just the way a city is managed and run. You run one department at a time. When it comes to water, sewer, those are a little different.
That sounds to me like part of the problem with the government is that they're not. The adjustments need to be made. It's frustrating to always hear that the first response is we have to raise. We have to raise something, as opposed to, well, we didn't bring in as much. Perhaps we should lower it, or perhaps we can shift something around. I guess I'm just tired of hearing, hey, you own property, so we're going to raise your taxes, raise your rates, raise your fees. That seems to always be the answer, as opposed to let's find a different route.
Hey, I agree with you, and if you know me at all, you know that's the way I want to go. However, I will tell you, when you're talking water and sewer and us abiding by state laws, we have to cover that cost. If we were looking at a different department, this would be a different conversation for me.
Okay.
Thank you, caller.
All right. There you go.
All right. So with less than a minute left, suddenly, you talked about that pricing. I'd like to know where RE/MAX stands in all of this. Your company and your mother's company and the rest of the good people over here in West Burlington.
Yeah, I know we're about out of time, but if you take 2020, RE/MAX number one in dollars, we did about $77 million. Second place was down at $57 million, so we were $20 million over the competition. Number one in units sold as well at 526 homes sold last year.
Wow.
Second place down at 478, and third place all the way down at 289. So we really had an amazing year at RE/MAX last year. Tons of great realtors there. So if you're looking for somebody to buy or sell your house, just give us a call.
And you can start at andycrowner.com. That's easy. Thank you, Andy. Good to hear from you, and good luck tonight in that work session.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Take care.